everyone, this is Kim with Abundant Life Tarot, and we are talking about insurance and tarot. Insurance and tarot collecting, as well as insurance and tarot running a private business. So let's get started. I'm going to speak in terms of my own personal experience. So I always encourage people that when we're starting to talk about finances or legalities, that you definitely want to speak to experts concerning that. I do consider myself a decent expert in the insurance world because I know a thing or two. I've been in the insurance industry for 20 years, and I think I know a thing or two. So that's why I feel a little bit comfortable talking about this particular topic in a much more public forum. Normally, I reserve these conversations for my Cosmic Seer level at Abundant Life Tarot Premium because, again, I like to make sure I'm not spouting off information that can quickly become outdated. And that's the other thing. Any information that I'm speaking about right now could instantly become obsolete tomorrow. So this is just a video to help get you started with thinking about insurance, or to also hearten for those who have been paying your premiums and you're like, what is the point? Well, we'll discuss some reasons why it's still important to pay those premiums. So let's get started. I went to the Northwest Tarot Symposium, and one of the purposes for me, one of my goals that I wrote down that I wanted to take away from it was finding out about insurance as the professional tarot reader. I have my business license for my tarot, my online tarot business, which is super exciting, but I'm like, okay, what's next? What's next? What does that get? What doors do I need to now go through to make sure that I am safe in running my business, that I feel safe and secure? And insurance is definitely something that's near and dear to my heart. I've had insurance help me in tremendous ways in the past. And I'll give you some examples of that. But a lot of times people are under the impression that they don't really need insurance, that it's a waste of money, and sometimes it's not necessarily the smartest thing to get insurance. I'll be honest with you. But more often than not, it is the smartest thing to do. So, yeah. So anyways, I went to the Northwest Tarot Symposium with insurance in mind because I'm like, I know I need insurance. It would make me feel a lot better about running my business. And so I was blessed to meet Jenna Matlin. Let me show you her picture, her lovely picture. She's like a tarot diva extraordinaire. She's an entrepreneur, an awesome one. She wrote this book, Have Tarot Will Party, a comprehensive guide to party reading for the tarot professional. And that is something I plan on getting into. It's a lot more local outreach. My business license allows for me to be able to go out, do readings for corporate events. I can do retail. I can do fairs. I can go to like businesses and do readings. I can do readings at home only online. I am not allowed to. The area that I live in is not zoned to have a lot of foot traffic, and quite frankly, I'm completely okay with that. When I got my business license, it was with online readings in mind, but that puts me in a very unique situation because if 90% of my readings are done online, that means I'm not able to really pick up on people's body language necessarily, or if something feels off. You know, like when you meet someone face to face and you are able to look at them and be like, something's not right here. Maybe I should decline the reading. Well, with distance readings, it's a little different. If you decline a reading, you may be declining an opportunity to make it a real connection with someone who just may have a difficult time communicating. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't know, but because you don't know, it puts you in a scary spot. You don't know if you're running into someone who is going to take every single word that you say as the gospel. And we're human. We, just like they can really download information from spirit, we can too. And sometimes what we're getting could be picking up on other things, or it could be picking up on the frequencies of right now. And the querent does something different and changes the course, so things can change. And then now they're like, oh my God, I'm going to sue you. And because of my background in insurance for 20 some odd years, and I dealt primarily with personal automobile insurance, although I did handle, when I started insurance, I started at the commercial level, meaning like some of my special accounts was McDonald's or a drugstore. My biggest account that people would know would be McDonald's. And I handled claims that are like your slip and falls, you got sick off food, and now you're filing a claim. Maybe you chipped your tooth on something. Maybe a sexual harassment situation popped off. Who knows? But that was my job, was to settle those claims at the near little 19 years old. I'm like, oh my God, I was way over my head. But then I fell in love with insurance because apparently I like stuff like that. Who knew? So anyways, I got off track, but the insurance is important because I recognize from my prior experience that people will sue, whether they have merit or not, whether their claim has merit or not, they will sue. I settled many claims that either went into litigation. Oftentimes I was able to settle the claims before it went and reached a trial and a jury verdict, but I have had claims that go off and get jury verdicts. I've also seen, many things. So I'm like, knowing that, no, of all people should be having insurance. So, but I also recognize that you have to have merit as well. So that's why I wasn't so pressed for getting professional liability insurance initially when I was first starting out, when I was moving from tarot hobbyist to doing readings for others for free to now tarot business. And so I was in this in between time. But once I got my business license, I was like, it seems that I'm making a much bigger commitment to this than just a tarot hobbyist. So I better protect myself and my family and my assets and the other career that I've built, which is my insurance career. So, Jenna was at the Northwest Tarot Symposium, and she was in the course we were taking about dealing with difficult clients, or how to deal with difficult client situations. And someone raised their hand and said, one of the topics came up where you should never do predictive readings. You should never, because it will put you in a place that you'll get sued. And Jenna and I were like, well, first of all, many of us like doing predictive readings. Many of us like predicting timelines and predicting when things may happen. And I do that. I do predictive readings. I also do look at times, but I also explain to my insureds. Oh my God, I'm in insurance brain right now. I'm so sorry. I also explain to my clients that I'm only human, and I'm just going off my studies, my deep studies of tarot and my intuition. And it could be wrong. It could be this season, or it could be this season. It could be this year, or it could be, you know what I mean? So I was like, no, that doesn't seem right. And I was like, no, you have to have merit. Like, you have to show that you detrimentally relied on some information, and that there were no disclaimers to tell you that actually this is not an exact science, and that maybe you shouldn't have been relying on that. You know what I'm saying? You have to prove that you actually have a claim, so to speak. But, you just never know. You never know what kind of judge you would get. You never know what kind of jury you would get if it went to a jury trial, if it was, small claims court. You don't know. You don't know what you're going to get. So just get peace of mind. So let's first talk about it. Since I've already kind of talked about it in the tarot professional, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about that first, and then we'll touch upon what insurance you can have, or expand upon your own insurance that you may already have for your deck collection. So I have this book by Jenna, and what introduced me to her, I know I've seen her around in the the Facebook groups. I'm pretty sure I'm part of her Facebook group as well. But I got there through this book, Have Tarot Will Travel, A Comprehensive Guide to Reading at Festivals as a Tarot Professional. And so that's how I knew about this one. And then she came out with this one in February. Now, she mentioned in the class that we were taking about difficult client situations about insurance, and she said something to the effect of, you know, as soon as she says this, it's probably going to become obsolete. And she's right. Things do become quickly obsolete. So it's important that I say this again. Definitely research locally where you are on what's available to you. This is just some terms so that way you know where to go. Because even with me being in insurance and knowing insurance, I knew I needed some form of commercial business policy, but I had been out of the commercial business insurance line for, I don't know, 18 years maybe. So I don't know, like I kept thinking, what term would I use to find this insurance? So she gave us the term here. She told us in the class, and I already had got her book. So I was like, that's right. She talks about it. She says, I'm going to read an excerpt here. She says, I carry liability insurance that covers both standard liability, slips and falls, and professional liability, errors and omissions. If someone slips and falls because they tripped on my rug or feels that what I told them harmed them and decides to sue me, my insurance will pay for my representation in civil court. In the U.S., it is extremely difficult to find an insurance policy that will cover a tarot card reader. However, there are a few companies out there that will. And that was also what I was coming up against when I would try to Google insurance for tarot readers. I wasn't getting the information I was looking for. So then she says, I hesitate to share this because I fear that as soon as I do, the information will be obsolete. But as of this writing, there are 2 insurance companies that have underwritten for me as a tarot professional in the U.S. They are Hiscox, and that's Hiscox, Business Insurance, and Alternative Balance. You can look them up yourself to determine whether their coverage limits and pricing is within your own particular needs. Some event companies have their own liability insurance, which is extended to their contractors, while others will require that you carry your own. I've mentioned it before, but it bears repeating. Some corporate events will not book you until you actually add their name to your policy of coverage. And that basically they're now adding themselves as an additional insured to that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's nothing to be panicked about. Like if you had a renter's policy, for example, oftentimes your landlord would want to ask you to add them as an additional insured. It's apparently standard protocol. Same thing if you financed a car, not same thing, but again, just so you know, it's common. It's very common to have additional insurance, especially if you're going to be doing the corporate circuits or doing festivals or events. You would want to know more about this and get this book. Oh my gosh! Even if you don't plan on ever reading in public, just the tools and the information she has about just running a tarot business is just priceless. And I can't stress that enough. She's awesome. Yeah. But we've got a lot of awesome teachers in our community, don't we? We are blessed in that way. She says, I pay about $250 a year for my policy, and it is the perfect amount of money that allows me to sleep like a baby at night. Between this and the disclaimer, I feel as legally protected as I can be. And so I was like, yeah. So now I was like, okay, let me see what insurance do I need. Well, I know that I'm not having people in my house. She has a storefront. She has an office that people come and do readings, as well as she needs her errors and omissions professional liability insurance. That's all one. And then she needs her slip and fall general liability type of insurance. That's how I started off in the insurance claims world, was those kind of claims. Because I will not be having clients in my home, I'm not going to concern myself with the slip and fall coverage. My homeowners, because of the way I've structured my business and everything, I know coverage. My slip and falls would still be covered. because people should not be in here getting readings from me. They would be in here personally visiting me and probably maybe getting a free reading, because this is also my hobby. And we're chilling and maybe having a glass of wine. I'm like, hey, you want to throw some cards, see what's out there in the spiritual realm? And we're like, yeah. My liability insurance through my homeowner's policy that insures my house also has built into it certain liability provisions and coverages, and as well as a medical payments policy that covers if someone gets hurt. I think it covers up to $5,000. That regardless of whether I was at fault or not, regardless if they were at fault or not, it doesn't matter. This would be just what we call a good neighbors kind of coverage that my insurance would pay to help pay for their medical expenses should something happen. Then obviously I have a bigger liability policy for such situations that go beyond that. And then it would mean that I would have to be proven negligent for that coverage to kick in. Similar to auto insurance, I can't emphasize that enough. People get your auto insurance. You'd be surprised how many people in California, for example, do not drive with insurance. When I was a renter, I rented insurance. I got renter's insurance. I rented insurance. I didn't rent insurance. I got renter's insurance, and it's very cheap. And we'll talk more about homeowners and renters insurance in a moment with your tarot collecting to protect your decks, because it's important and it's really a cheap coverage to have, and it'll save you in a pinch. But I digress. Let's get back to the professional. So I realized, I'm like, okay, this is the insurance I need. I need professional liability insurance. I need the Arizona and omissions insurance, since I'm not going to have clients here paying me for readings. And then I went on and I checked out Hiscox. I checked out Alternative Balance. And she's right. The prices were all pretty similar. I think they were all pretty similar. But I ended up going with, I didn't go with the ones that she has recommended. I ended up going with Energy Medicine Professional Association, EMPA. And I had seen them before because they also have a directory of their insureds who, it's like a directory of like healers or whatever. So I was familiar with them that way, but I realized that a lot of this, like the Alternative Balance, is also more like an association, and they have these courses. Like Energy Medicine Professional Association has a library of courses and business courses, insurance courses. It's really cool. And so does Alternative Balance, I believe. I'm not sure. I think Hiscox is underwritten. It's a big company. It's a big insurer. And so they treat it more like what I know, where I come from, the insurance, world, agents and insurance and stuff. This is different. This is like an association that also has built into it professional liability insurance, which is perfect for like someone like me who's starting out with our business, right? So I got on there and I got a policy only for 30 days. You have to pay. The one downside for all of these professional liability policies, and you have to be prepared for this, is you have to pay up front. I don't know. I think maybe Hiscox might do a month-to-month, which would have been nice, because my premium for the year through Energy Medicine Professional Association is $225. It's really nothing. Like it's what, 18, 19 bucks a month, I think, 20 bucks. It's really nothing. That's, for some of us, that could be, it's just worth the peace of mind. Whatever kind of service you provide, I'm sure you would be able, in a day's work, be able to come up with some money to pay for that, the premium for a year for professional errors and omissions liability coverage. So that's the downside, though. It's not month to month. And with EMPA, all policies renew at once. All policies, whether I bought my policy last month like I did, and I only paid 18 bucks or whatever for that one prorated amount. But now myself and everyone else, we go through a renewal April 1st. So I'm getting ready. This is why I got my camera up. I'm like, I want to talk about insurance while I'm thinking about it. I've been meaning to do a video for the longest time, but since I'm paying my renewal for next month, it's for the term, and the term starts next Monday. I thought it best to chat with you about it. So yeah, I'm going to pay it and I'm going to feel good about it. Like Jenna said, just even that month having the professional liability, I did sleep better. It almost gives you a boost of confidence too. Like I feel like I can now really, like, what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing, I can keep it real. I don't have to be you still have to be super delicate with readings, in my professional opinion. You just don't want to be loosey-goosey, but you also want to be a little firm because you care about your client. Not firm in the sense of you need to do what I'm telling you, but firm in the sense that this is what I'm hearing, this is what I'm seeing in the cards, and this is the message that I need to firmly share with you. So I feel a little bit more relaxed with that. And I really am liking the EMPA. I believe they are underwritten by, oh my gosh, I know this. It's a Tokyo Marine. It's another big commercial carrier that typically, I mean, we're talking about, commercial policy. They big old ships, things like, anyways, you can imagine with the name like Tokyo Marine. Anyway, so that's that. I'm super excited about it because you can get a little card, or I can put a little something on my about page from EMPA saying that I am insured. I mean, it just adds that little extra measure of like, you know, like, hey, I take my business seriously. This is serious. Some places, some jurisdictions would require that you have that. And so you definitely, again, that's why it's important to check with your local, your county, your city, your ordinances, because your county or your parish, wherever you're from, you need to check to make sure you're not required. I was not required. I don't, you know, that's not a requirement. I was required to have a business license if I was going to be charging for readings in my home. But I don't mind. I want to support my county, so it's whatever. I don't care. I'm happily glad to pay that tax bill. But yeah, you need to double check and make sure you are not required, because I don't want to tell you anything wrong. And I'm going to always err on the side of getting insurance than I am going to err on it not. Are there instances where you probably don't need it just yet? Yeah. But what's also cool that I should tell you is that, like EMPA, Alternative Balance, I believe, I'm not sure about Hiscox. I didn't look too much into Hiscox. And the reason being, I think Hiscox was slightly more expensive, and I really love the association part with EMPA and Alternative Balance. That's why I went with them. But I digress again. I've got so much information I want to share with you guys. I'm like, I can't share it up. EMPA is cool because it'll protect you, and you'll feel like you have support, and you can make a phone call if you needed to file a claim. Probably the reason why the premiums are so cheap is because probably people rarely ever have to file a claim, and that I can assure you. If your premiums are expensive, it's because people are probably filing claims. That's why commercial insurance policies are huge. They're big, not just because they're big corporations and that they can afford it, and they can, but also because they have big exposure. So, you know, with EMPA, they could probably afford to charge much lower premiums. I'm sure whatever thought I have will come back to me if it was important. And if you ask me in the comments section about any questions or anything that I'm talking about, if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'm happy to help answer that, help you, or answer your question, or direct you to where you should go. But yeah, I was going to sign in. Let me sign in since I have to pay. But yeah, it's pretty simple. I paid through my PayPal account for my annual, and like I said, it's just peace of mind. I cannot stress how important peace of mind is these days. Now, let's talk a little bit. Yeah, just looking at additional insured is what they call it. Yeah, let's talk now a little bit about the collection side of things. So I talked about the professional insurance, and when you are collecting debts, And you may just not even be concerned. And this is the end. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Instances where you may not need insurance. Oh my God, I'm so glad I remember, because this is actually important. Sorry, guys. I've got so much info. Okay, so when you may not need insurance, but I still would encourage you to get them. EMPA and alternative balance will insure you if you're still in the practicing stages, even if you're offering free readings, and they call it the apprenticeship phase of your career, of your healing career, whether you're a reader, or they have also many, oh my goodness, I wanted to show you all the different types of healers and professions that they have in lumped, but you can go on there and see, because it might change, so go on and see. But tarot readers is one. You may feel like, I'm not really doing a lot of free readings, I'm not really doing a lot of you know, I'm not really, I don't have much of an exposure. I live with my parents, and, you know, I don't really do readings at home. I just do free readings for my friends. And you know, you probably don't really need insurance, but if you are doing free readings for strangers, or especially for, I mean, obviously you could be sued by friends, but probably not. But if you're doing free readings for strangers, with the idea that one day you want to become professional, yeah, it may be a hefty price to pay for those who aren't starting to incur a salary or draw a salary from your tarot readings just yet. It may be like, what? $250? Good Lord, I can't afford that. But you probably could, because if you think about it, you probably spend that in a year on coffee, on all these different things. So when you get that big lump sum of money, a gift from relatives, or maybe you got a bonus at work or extra something, or you work some OT in your day job, definitely get that insurance. It will literally lift a burden off of you, where you might be kind of scared and like, what if I get wrong information? This kind of helps with that too. Like I said, it really, when you have insurance, it helps you sleep at night. And you're like, well, what insurance company do you work for? Did you all endorse insurance like that? I won't say. But I recognize there are times when it's just like probably not really important to have insurance yet. So yeah, glad I remembered that. Super important. Now back to deck collecting. This is going to be a longer video than I thought. Back to deck collecting. I have renter's insurance, and renter's insurance, just as in homeowner's insurance, allows for an endorsement for you know, fine art, if you will. So you have that kind of endorsement that you can add, and an endorsement is changing your coverage to either update it with some new information, or to improve the coverage, or add or change coverages, or to remove things. So that would be an endorsement. So also in a renter's policy, and renters is when you're renting an apartment or house or wherever you're renting, or your roommate, and you get renter's insurance, you get that. If you own your home, you get homeowner's insurance. And so also built into those two coverages, even without a specialized personal artifacts endorsement, is what it's called. It's called a PAF endorsement. Even without that, you have personal effects that can be covered in your coverage through your homeowners or renters. And you may have a deductible. Like, I believe one of my deductibles is $250, meaning that the claim has to come at or exceed that amount in order for me to receive a payment. So I do actually have a personal artifacts endorsement on my policy. I also have a special endorsement, and I need to contact them and make sure I have enough coverage, because I've been taking off things, not always using certain devices anymore, and adding devices. And let me tell you how good insurance can be to you. So we have renters, and my husband's fancy camera that he was using for like his documentary was stolen out of the car. And I'm like, damn it, I'm thinking I'm going to have to make a claim for this one, because it was He got it for a steal at $800, but the camera was worth more than that. But he had been shopping for months and getting coupons and all this. It was this big old ordeal. So that was why I was bummed when the camera got stolen. So I was like, damn, he's got to do all that research again. But I contacted my insurance company. I'm like, they're like, do you have receipts? I'm like, I don't think he has receipts. I don't remember when or what. I said, I know where he bought it from, so we know what kind of camera it was. They said, well, have you ever filmed with it? Or do you by any chance have a picture of it? And I'm like, strangely enough, I have a film of me with the camera in the bathroom doing like this. Because I'm a goof nugget, right? And they were like, that'll work. I'm like, really? And I had another moment when we were going up to the big redwoods at the coast, and I'm goof nugget style, you know, you could see the rear view mirror and me, you know, like a big old tourist, like so you could see, and they're like, send it in, and they said, okay, the kind of policy you have will pay for replacement value. Not to be confused with actual cash value, meaning that if you had an actual cash value kind of policy, they're only going to pay you what the going value is for the time today, not what you paid for back when. Whereas replacement costs will pay for what you can replace it with. Yeah, it's a few extra dollars per 6 months or a year, depending, but it's literally a few extra dollars, like, again, a meal. I mean, and you spread that out over the course of your term, it's not that much. So they ended up paying us like $1,300 for that camera, and we had only spent $800. And we were like, and I'm in the insurance world, I'm like, really? Are you sure? I don't want to take anything I'm not to do. Or no, it's replacement value. And that's not to say it's going to be the case all the time for, you know, certain things that you would add. But typically it could be. Jewelry also would fall under personal artifacts. You can get endorsements for like collectibles, collectible guns, collectible artwork. And so the tarot cards could potentially fall under that collectible artwork. And that is what I want to talk to you all briefly about, is that if you don't have renter's insurance, I think it's important that you have it. And here's why. Not just because you're a tarot deck collector and I want you to quickly hurry up and get your decks back when, God forbid, a fire happens or something. God forbid, or an earthquake or whatever the case may be, to be without. Renter's insurance comes in handy, believe it or not. If the fire happened and you had an inventory of your decks, I'm all pointing at my decks right there, it would be easy for your insurance company to pay you for said decks. Renter's insurance is very cheap. You can get quite a bit of coverage for, I've seen policies as cheap as $5 to $10 a month. When I was renting and I had a renter's policy, I think I paid like $20 a month. And I had the Cadillac, you know, the big old policy and I didn't need all that coverage. But because I'm an insurance person, you best believe I'm going to try to get as much insurance as I can afford. So I thankfully have not had to file a claim for my decks, but some of my decks, if God forbid something happened, oh, sorry. I was looking at a system, something on my laptop. I'm like, what are you talking about? Don't you shut down on me. What was I going to say? So anyways, I have not. But it's cool because I know like certain decks I will not be able to replace. Their first edition. Some of them never came out with another edition. And I love them and they're near and dear. And I'm going to find a way to put them in a way to protect them. Some of them I don't use. So I may even store them off-site, away from my house. Because they mean that much to me. You're like, what? But most of the time, I'm not going to really do that because most of the time I want to use all my decks, including the rare ones. But it's nice to know that if something happened, and even though I wouldn't be able to replace it per se, I'd be compensated for it. We ended up replacing that camera And it was good that it was replacement cost because of the fact of, as what is it? It's called inflation as time goes on, So it was cool that it was replacement because he wouldn't have been able to replace it with the current version with $800. And what sucks is his camera that was stolen was way better than what we ended up buying. That was more expensive. Womp womp. But whatever. So yeah, insurance has helped me. And I strongly emphasize people having health insurance. I think that, don't get me started on that soapbox about how it should be. It's a universal right that people have access to health care, and that should be mandatory. But everything else I recognize can be optional, such as renters. But homeowners is not necessarily optional, and sometimes not renters either, because some landlords, like one of the last landlords that I rented from before I bought this house, was like, no, you have to have, if you want to rent from me, you have to have renters. Even though I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why do you care if I can replace my personal effects or not? And that kind of bothered me. But because I'm an insurance person, I didn't quiver much at all. But I was thinking to myself, why does it matter? You're insuring the outside of the building. Why do you care? But it does matter, really, because it sucks when, God forbid, a fire happens and your landlord can only pay so much. Their insurance will only pay so much for you to move somewhere else if it's their fault. So it's good if you had your renter's policy that will pay for some replacement time in a hotel or an alternate living situation. Same with homeowners. So don't underestimate it. Also, a little plug for automobile insurance. Always periodically check it every renewal to make sure that you're adequately covered, both for as well as your homeowners and renters. Double check that. And the perfect time to double check it is at renewal time, because you can look and see if things have changed. Have you gotten married? Have you gotten divorced? Have you downsized? Have you gotten rid of a bunch of stuff you no longer need to insure? With your car coverages, did you buy a house? Did you sell a house? Are you renting out? All these things influence it. Do you have children who are about to drive? Maybe I do need to up my liability coverage to a much higher limit now that my teen sons are driving, you see? And maybe I do need uninsured motorist coverage because the people around me are driving uninsured. And let me tell you, it's because of uninsured motorists that my son was able to get and not even a settlement to cover anywhere near his bills. His bills were $1 million plus. And the settlement it was only like a quarter of that. You see what I'm saying? So even that was an underinsured situation where I wasn't even adequately insured. But it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. And so I tell people, you may be like, when is this ever going to pay off for me? It may not. You may not ever have to file a claim. And if not, but when you do need a claim, it's nice to know, when you need to file a claim, it's nice to know that you have insurance that can be there. And so your job is to make sure you find the best coverage for the cheapest price. Best coverage for the cheapest price. And that's the name of the game there. So yeah, so that's my little plug on insurance. And honestly, when I think about it now, I'm probably speaking more to the North American continent, really. And probably even more so specifically America. I think Hiscox, one of them also services like other countries, I believe, and maybe just North American countries. I don't know. So if you are in another country and you're like, this doesn't really help me much, hopefully what you take away from it is to check out what your needs are to protect yourself, and then reach out and find out what you need, and also make sure the legalities, make sure that you are following the rules, because the last thing I want is people coming and shuttering my doors because I wasn't handling the business, or shuttering your doors because I didn't say, hey, just double check with your governmental entities, make sure you're on the up and up. So yeah, let me know. This is a lot of information I threw at you, a lot. But a lot of information is better because then you can pause, take notes, and then do what you need to do. So I'm curious to know how many of you, and it's no judgments if you don't have insurance, because again, hey, this gal right here, when she was like 22, there's a moment she did not have insurance like she was supposed to, and she knew better. And I got lucky, nothing happened, but I knew better. And so that's why I'm like, I am the one that could be able to advise on this subject matter. Because I can tell you what happens, and I'm not going to even share with you the horror stories that can happen when you let your insurance lapse, or when you don't have enough coverage. I don't want to share. I could scare you, but just take my word for it. It's not pretty. And I'm not saying that like to be lying. No, I handled injury claims, and now I've seen, I have friends who've been in the game too. When I last left claims, I'm handling some heavy duty injury stuff. So it doesn't take much. It does not take an office visit, as you guys know. It takes like a few $100s. And so you have somebody you hit, and now they got to treat for 6-7 months. Not that most people need that kind of treatment in auto accidents, but they might. That's a lot of money. Plus they're missing work, plus they get pain and suffering. So again, think about that. And it's all about adulting smartly. And we have to adult. And this is one of the adulting things that we have to do, especially if we're in the business of tarot reading or any kind of healing modalities. And especially if we have assets. Even if you don't think you have anything, even if you're a renter, you'd be surprised how expensive things can get when you have nothing. You have to replace everything. It's devastating. And what comforts people, what was the joy for me when I handled briefly homeowners and renters and proper commercial property claims, is calling them and giving them that like peace of mind. Like, hey, you don't know this, but your coverage pays for this, and you can go stay in a place right now so you can collect your life and your thoughts. We're going to, pay for services to come clean up that. You just don't realize how helpful insurance can be until you need it. So don't knock it till you try it. All right, guys, let me know about your insurance success or failure stories. I want to hear them. Let me know if you have any questions about what we discussed today. And if you just want to say, hey, hi, that's okay too. All right, guys, much love, many blessings. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.